Hi, welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. I hope you had a chance to watch some of the Democratic National Convention. We're going to be going over a few of the highlights. Not all. I know you can only stand so much of it. But when we come back, what was this all about anyway? All of these privileged elites pretending they're victims? And what about the children? That's all I can say. We'll be back in a minute.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please smash that, excuse me, that like button. Like this broadcast. Do all you can to support us. I really appreciate anything you can do. This is still a very small station. We're trying to be a larger one. But I'm hoping I'm bringing you all the news you need to know. And you need to continue to resolve to resist with me because we're here for free speech and for your right to free speech. By the way, after I'm done this, I'm going out to the Freedom Convoy trial. This is supposed to be the last day. I'll say more about that before I tune out and tune off today. Tune in, turn on, drop out. No, we're not dropping out. We're dropping in. So the DNC, Democratic National Convention in Chicago, it promised lots of protests. They had that. It promised to bring out every old Democrat that they could find, including the current president, who I had to laugh. All the mainstream media analysis said, you wouldn't believe this was the same man who debated Donald Trump. Well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe that's the point. Maybe it's Joe Biden's double. But they put Joe Biden's double on like at midnight, way past his bedtime, and he took to the stage and he lied and he lied and he lied as the fact checker. I usually don't take fact checkers seriously, but he went on again about Donald Trump going to institute a bloodbath if he becomes president. He was speaking metaphorically. That has been shown, demonstrated, proven so many times. But Biden, of course, in his dementia, brings it out again as if this is some kind of revelation. Just incredible. One of the biggest news stories of the week that occurred concurrently with the convention was Robert F. Kennedy's decision to drop out. Or is he? Because there seems to be some uncertainty now. Like his vice presidential candidate, Nicole Shanahan, goes on social media and says, we're going to support Donald Trump. That's a very strong option. We're dropping out because the Democratic Party is doing everything it can to sabotage our campaign. And it has. They've got him off the ballot in New York, Washington State, and possibly Pennsylvania. And there are other states that are still trying to get Robert F. Kennedy Jr. off the ballot, thanks to Democratic judges and thanks to the Democratic Party that's working behind the scenes to sabotage the man's campaign. Now, will he support Donald Trump? Well, more about that later, but apparently there's a little bit of infighting, not only within his immediate advisors, but perhaps within his immediate family. His wife is a Hollywood actress. She might not want him supporting Donald Trump because that's just not the thing to do in Hollywood, is it? But we will see. Anyway, I've got some great videos to show you because I don't know if you watched it. And I've been watching Democratic National Conventions, usually with my mouth in a very, very tight way, in my teeth clenched, because it's arduous at the best of times to watch these people. They've been playing this victimization act for years. I mean, you believe Oprah Winfrey getting up yesterday and saying, she has been a victim of inequality. And since I was a kid, I remember her being on television. I never watched her. I couldn't stand her because this is a grade A first-class hypocrite. And here she is crying victimhood. It's like everybody. Obama's a victim. Michelle Obama's a victim. Or is that really Michelle? I don't know. Yeah, they're all victims in the Democratic Party, except they're all elites controlling you. Let's listen to Joe Biden. This is absolutely fascinating.
Who gave their lives to this country.
Let's start at the beginning.
Service members who gave their lives to this country. He called them suckers and losers. Who in the hell does he think he is? Who does he think he is?
Never said it. Trump never
No
said
words for a person. They are not the words of a person not worthy of being commander-in-chief. Period. Not then, not now, and not ever. Service members.
Okay, this was the clown talking about who's worthy to be commander-in-chief. This was the clown who left billions of dollars of military equipment in Afghanistan for the Taliban to collect, like you pick up your milk. That's exactly what this clown did as commander-in-chief. Look at his actions. Everything he touches turns into disaster. We're looking at a third world war in the Middle East and Ukraine since this bozo has been president, because we don't even know if the man's in charge. We don't know if he's got his finger on the nuclear football. Probably a good idea if he doesn't, because he can't think for more than 5 minutes at a time. But he's got the gall to suggest Donald Trump called anyone who served in the military suckers. Yeah, right. I'm sure he said that. That has been debunked by so many people. And to suggest that he shouldn't be commander-in-chief. Yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at Jamie Raskin. Representative Jamie Raskin. You say, who the hell is Jamie Raskin? Well, this is the guy who is actually leading the second impeachment against Donald Trump. It was Schiff from California who led the first one. But Jamie Raskin is the Democratic congressman from Maryland. He led the second impeachment against Donald Trump. And he also recently made an incredible admission. He said if Donald Trump wins the next election, that Democrats in Congress are going to deny him the presidency by saying he's already been disqualified, even though the Supreme Court has said that the 14th Amendment does not pertain to Donald Trump and January 6th. There was no insurrection. Donald Trump had nothing to do with trying to overthrow the government. The Supreme Court has ruled that the 14th Amendment does not apply. He cannot be disqualified for running for president. Jamie Raskin thinks he's above the law.
Told Donald Trump that the president's job under Article 2 of the Constitution
what can be
Article 2 of the Constitution, teleprompter must have stalled, and Jamie doesn't know what Article 2 of the Constitution is because he can't think past his teleprompter. This man has not got a single idea in his head. Here he is looking a little more relaxed, shall we say, as he's talking about insurrection. The Democrats are just classic at this, blaming the Republicans for insurrection, blaming Donald Trump for plotting and planning and trying to implement an insurrection on January 6, 2021, excuse me. And this is the guy who's talking about and plotting an insurrection on camera if Donald Trump wins the next election. These people are not just hypocrites, they're rank hypocrites.
put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be.
See, Raskin says Section 3 of the 14th Amendment says Donald Trump shall be disqualified from running again in any election because Jamie Raskin says so. That's how he reads Section 3 of the 14th Amendment.
Clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress. So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means.
Someone should have told Donald Trump.
Yeah, somebody should have told you that you're an idiot. How does the FBI not arrest this guy's stupid head and put him behind bars for what he's saying? Why is he allowed to talk about an insurrection? Because it's Donald Trump? That's okay. You can talk about insurrection if it only affects Donald Trump. But incredible moments of irony, shall we say, at the Democratic National Convention. or shall we just say incredible hypocrisy. And it just shows you how vacuous this man is. He can't finish a line without his teleprompter because he doesn't think so well. Here's a great little section here from how black voters are really voting. And yeah, they're voting for Donald Trump. And let's just have this. This is a classic piece of Americana, if you will, in terms of how black voters are really going to vote. They really don't like Kamala Harris. In fact, they don't even consider her African American. God knows what she is, except pretty half-witted. I really don't care what her ethnicity is. But of course, that's all it's about for Democrats. It's all about her race. You have to vote for her because she's black or because she's a little bit Asian. And what else? It's all about ethnicity. It's all about race. We were supposed to be beyond that after Martin Luther King Jr. We were supposed to move beyond race being the deciding factor about why you vote or don't vote for somebody, why you support, why you like, why you are on somebody's side. It should not have anything to do with their race. It should have everything to do with their policies, their principles, and the content of their character.
For Trump. I go for Donald Trump. Me too. I go for Trump.
Who are you voting for in 2024?
Trump too.
And why is that?
There's Benny Johnson, who I worked with Benny at the Daily Caller for years. He was always a funny guy. I think he's really found his niche here with his show, and this is some great footage here.
Man,
He the best president ever.
has Barack Obama done anything for around here and these?
He never did anything since he been in office,
Yeah.
and I'm glad he out. Trump the best.
Barack Obama? Man, I ain't got no message to say him. I don't mess with Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm a Trump supporter. Trump do more for black people and care more about black people. And Barack Obama ain't black. Just to let that be known.
All right. What about Kamala Harris?
I don't with her either. All Trump all day.
Yeah. What's your message to Donald Trump today?
Keep going. Come get us, man. We waiting on you.
I'm a Trump supporter, man. We gonna keep this going. Trump, he a real businessman. I'm a real Republican, man. I want Trump back in office second term.
What would be your message to Barack Obama?
On, Don. On and on and on.
Yeah.
Dozens of people come up to us to say they want Trump back in Obama's old neighborhood.
Now, these are what you would call average black Americans who are not being fed propaganda or told to say certain things at the Democratic National Convention. These look like average people. These look like people who work for a living, who have trouble making ends meet like we all do right now because of the Biden-Harris administration inflation in the U.S. and because of Justin Trudeau's inflation in Canada. They look like they work hard. And they look like they're saying, you're not going to give me Kamala Harris. She's an idiot. She's an airhead. Let's get back to Donald Trump because we had more black people working under Donald Trump. And I don't know how many times I wrote that in articles during the Trump presidency when I was writing for the Daily Caller at that time. So many times. The most black the lowest percentage of black employment in the history of America. And that's the reality of Donald Trump and black people. No, he doesn't suggest that they owe him anything and that they should serve him. He just says, I'll be president and you'll have a job. That's what average black Americans. What kind of black Americans did the Democratic National Convention feature? Well, Oprah Winfrey, billionaire, who still feels victimized. And of course, Michelle Obama. Yes, with her mansion 6 times the size of any normal house, right on the Atlantic Ocean in Martha's Vineyard. She still feels like she's got the dirty end, the raw end of the stick. She still feels victimized. Yeah, even though they're worth $200-300 million now. All those contracts with Netflix and everything else. All those book deals. And she still feels like she's not getting what she deserves. Yeah. And she understands what it means to be a victim. That's the kind of people the Democrats put in front of you to suggest that they understand the suffering and the inequality of Black Americans, pretending it's 1954, not 2024. That's what they do best. Always pretending we're living in a different era, and none of the progress, none of the advances, none of the reality that has existed has happened for Democrats, and it's absolutely fascinating. Here's a great clip on Robert F. Kennedy. He is supposed to make an announcement today. I will be in court today when that announcement probably occurs. So keep your eyes on the news, because this is going to be historic. If he jumps back in the race, which I think will be a mistake at this point, you can't remove yourself and then insert yourself 2 days later. It looks kind of silly. I hope he supports Donald Trump in the interest of America, in the interest of getting rid of the last vestiges of Joe Biden, and not inviting Kamala Harris to add insult to injury and further injury.
The presidential candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., intends to suspend his campaign on Friday and is planning to endorse former President Trump. Sources caution talks are ongoing. One of the sources telling us that both camps are working toward a joint appearance. It comes after a recent interview where Kennedy's running mate acknowledged they were weighing a potential exit from the race and a Trump endorsement. So we will continue to track that angle of this race and bring you any new developments as we get them. But again, Robert F. Kennedy suspending his campaign.
Well, he basically already suspended the campaign this week when his vice presidential running mate goes on social media and talks about it. So that really was preemptive, I suppose. But the assumption is he has withdrawn from the race. Now, if he officially announces it today, it's going to be a bit of an afterthought. He really has to today say they're going to support Donald Trump in the interest of America, because the Democratic Party that his brother ran under and won as president, his uncle ran under and became president, John F. Kennedy. His father ran as a senator and had essentially grasped the Democratic presidential nomination in 1968, just before he was assassinated. He was a lifelong Democrat. Kennedy has said he's a lifelong Democrat, like his father and his uncle. But clearly, this campaign has shaken the foundation of his politics, because the Democrats have tried everything to sabotage his campaign. And here's the worst irony of this Democratic National Convention yet. How much Democrats care for children. Meanwhile, we now know it wasn't 30,000 or 60,000 children that the Biden administration lost at the border. Yeah, lost to you-know-what. It's 600,000.
Cares about kids and families, cares about America.
Secure our borders without tearing kids away from their parents.
And here's the announcement. 600,000. Now, what do you think has happened? They're not lost.
Shows that the U.S. has lost 300,000 migrant children. Lost them. We know that they came across the border unaccompanied. These are only the ones that we've counted. We've got to think that it's inflated by more than that, but this is what we're counting. We know that there are almost 500,000 that have come across the border since 2019, and more than 300,000 of them are lost. Here's the report. I want to encourage you to seek it out for yourself. It's from the Department of Homeland Security, dated just this week. The title says it all. You can find it at dhs.gov, by the way, and also I linked you to it in the newsletter this morning so you can read it for yourself. The title says, Management Alert, ICE cannot monitor all unaccompanied migrant children released from DHS and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services custody. Can't monitor him. Don't know where they are.
Someone in our chat just says, in our Rumble chat, says lost or sold.
Well, we're going to talk about where we think that they're going. Yes, exactly that. This is not an issue of misplaced paperwork. These are children that the government knew of and didn't even try to find or follow them or put them in a safe place. And the report warns that missing children, quote, are considered at higher risk for trafficking, exploitation, or forced labor. Now, we've known about this. In April of 2023, a HHS whistleblower testified about this to the House Judiciary Committee. She also spoke to Redacted last month, and Clayton asked her, how does this happen? Where are they coming from? What is actually going on here? Listen to this example she gave of how this is happening.
We need to shine a light on this because it's so dark. Can you talk about where are these kids coming from? They're having panic attacks without their parents. So are they being, are coyotes bringing them across the border and they're being dropped at these facilities? How exactly are they arriving in these facilities in the first place before the United States government then traffics them around the other parts of the United States?
Yeah, well, it's a very well organized criminal operation. So I can give you an example of one of our cases out of Texas. There was a Guatemalan living in Texas, and he had children who he was luring from Guatemala, telling them, look, you're making $2.50 a day now, but if you come to the United States, I'm going to pay you $6 an hour. So some of the children are lured, like they believed they were going to be Bill Gates rich, right? Instead of making $2.50 a day, they're more than doubling and tripling their wages. They're like $6 an hour. Wow. So they're lured. Some of them are stolen from their families. Sometimes their families are being sold a bill of goods that, hey, if you send your child to the United States, they're going to be able to send money back to you. And we'll give you money now if you let us take your child.
So let's say trafficking. I can't say the first part of it. You know what they're up to. This is the biggest explosion of child trafficking in the history of the world. And Joe Biden is behind it. Joe Biden allowed this to happen. The Biden-Harris administration sat back and watched it happen. This is gross incompetence, gross criminality, and that's how much Kamala Harris cares for children and how much Hillary doesn't care for children. Barack Obama doesn't care for children. Joe Biden didn't care for children. That's what this scandal is about. And that's what the DNC was all about. Hypocrisy. Anyway, it's going to continue. Like I say, I'm off now to the Ottawa courthouse downtown. The supposed last day of the Freedom Convoy trial, Tamara Leach and Chris Barber. I'm told this is the last day, even if the Crown wants to submit a submission, they'll do it in a written form. We'll see if that happens. I hope these two don't have to come back again in September because we're not going to have a verdict until January or February. This is an outrage. I'm going to be there again. I'm going to come back tonight and tell you all about what happened. So stay tuned, stay watching. I'll be here to give you all the news you need to know, and please continue to resolve to resist Trudeau's censorship and the authoritarianism that this government is foisting upon us.